What's going on, wrestling fans? Welcome into another edition of Near Falls with D Hall, a wrestling podcast. Joining me today, none other than Borough alum, 4-time WPO champ, 4-time Southwest Regional champ, 2-time state champ, and a bunch of junior state championships we're going to talk about. Joe Makara, how are you, sir?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. How's everything going today?
I'm doing good, man. So pumped up to have you on. Thank you so much for driving across the city through a couple tunnels. From Borough, PA. I know it's a bit of a drive. I've made that drive over to Kaz. Kaz, we're going to talk about you, I'm sure, a few times tonight. But, thanks for coming out and just sitting out and bullshitting a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. It's good to be here. Looking forward to it.
Me too. All right, brother. Let's get right into it. Wrestling show, right? So, first wrestling memory. Do you have one? I've talked to a bunch of different guys over the course of the podcast. Some guys don't have a specific memory. Some guys do. What's yours?
Can never really remember starting out in the practice room or anything like we were talking about earlier, but I remember first trophy, I think, Plum first year tournament.
Nice.
The little marble base with the guys just standing there. I remember that, and I still have it in the living room.
At your house?
Yeah, today. I kept it over all the years. My dad used to write on the bottom of all of them, our name and the year, age, weight class.
Yeah.
I think 1991, it might have been 40 or I think it was 40 pounds, 6 years old, 40
91.
pounds. 91, I think it was, yeah.
So, so obviously you got your start, you started off very young. Was that something your dad instilled in you? Like, was your dad a wrestler? Like, or is it like something he kind of just found and you just went into the wrestling room?
So he met a wrestler a couple years. No good at all.
Gotcha.
So who knows where it came from? But it started from a letter from school. I think it was first grade. This letter came around, Borough Wrestling. And a couple of my friends, we just decided, hey, we're going to do this. So, we signed up.
Yeah.
And, about halfway through the first year, I hated it. I wanted to quit.
Really?
But, yeah. I don't know why or what, but my dad told me a story. He goes, you came to me and you said you wanted to be done. And, he said that, we're not going to quit anything. You want to be done when you finish the season. You go to the 3 practices a week, do the couple tournaments we have, and then at the end of the season, you could be done if you don't like it. So finish the season. The following year, I brought the same letter home, and I said, Dad, I want to wrestle. And he goes, we had this conversation last year. If you sign up, we're going to do the whole year. And I think the second year it clicked, and I don't think I ever tried to quit again.
Right. So one of the things I touched on when I opened is you won a boatload of junior state championships. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those things.
Yeah, I did way back in the day.
Right, way back in the day. Do you remember like all of them? Do you remember the first one? Do you remember like what went into all that? Because I look on the list, my man. It's like you, Nico Cortese, like Kerry Colat, like you're in some elite company when it comes to junior state championships.
Yeah, I mean, why does anyone play a sport? They play to win,
right.
And that's just, I guess from a young age, I mean, I got it. I guess I was pretty natural at it, but, it's wrestling. It's still tough. I know there was, throw an old name out here, Carlington guy, Josh Valentine, man. I could not beat him when I was younger, we were the same, age and weight there for a while. I could not beat him. I think my first area finals was against him, and he beat me to go to states. My dad took me to, it was Erie. We went to Erie. He said, I'll take you to states one time. From now on, you got to earn it.
Yeah.
And I beat everybody in the bracket. There was 8 areas, so there was 8 kids, because they only took one back in the day. It was 10 and under, 45 pounds.
Okay, so back in the day, it was 8 areas, you only took one.
I only took one, yeah.
Wow.
13 and 14 took 2.
Wow.
So, it was 1. So, there,
Was it Area 7 back in the day like it is now?
Yeah, it was Area 7. So, we went up, and I beat everyone from every area throughout the season except Josh Valentine.
Valentine.
I could not get him, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Josh Valentine, shout out. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. So, I mean, like we said, you won a bunch of these things.
Yeah.
When did it click for you? Or like, I'm pretty good at this stuff. Like you're winning all these titles. Does it register in your brain, or is it on to the next thing?
I don't know if it really registered at the time. I mean, like I said, you no one goes out to wrestle or play any sport to lose. So you always want to win, but it's just kind of became, I guess, expected a little bit.
Right.
So, but it was fun. And I always looked forward to the postseason. I always felt, even when I was younger and in high school, I always felt like I wrestled my best at the end of the season.
I love that. Okay, so we're going to table that little topic. I want to talk about that a lot more. So what I really want to get into next is the Burrow program.
Right.
Growing up in that program, you're a Burrow boy through and through. I was just doing my research over the course of this weekend, ready for this podcast, getting ready for this interview. You guys were really kind of the start of the run that what is today. I mean, it goes from your group, my group that was in high school, like Travis McKillop. In between there was the Beatty brothers, Landowski was in there. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much rich history with the Burrow Bucks.
Yeah.
What was it like to be a part of that program?
It's funny you said back when it started. I think 1997. I think we won a Whitfield title, and Joel Delorier was our stud. He was a state champ that year, and then after that, the program kind of died a little bit, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
9 guys on the team. My freshman year, we had 9 guys on the team, so we were 13 weight classes at the time, so we were forfeiting 4 weights.
Yeah.
So I remember. Our team, back when I was in 7th, 8th grade, they were traveling to like West Green to wrestle 4 matches.
Wow.
So it was like a rocky time after that. And then, 99, 2000 rolled around, and you had like the Spears, Wiles, myself, the Shieldses, we're all coming up through. And that's when the program started to get numbers.
Yeah. Then, so did you guys like kind of all travel around together?
Oh, from when time we were in 1st grade.
Right.
As a group.
Yeah.
I mean, we went everywhere together.
Yeah.
From anywhere in the state, we were always together.
That's what I feel like. I've talked to a bunch of like I talked to Ethan Headley, like he was one of my first interviews, and he talked about that group that he had in Waynesburg, and it's just like you kind of just all morph together and you just travel all around.
Yep.
And you see that a lot, right? You're a rep. We're going to get into that a bunch, but you see, and it's a lot of times it's like 2, 3, 4 guys in a row or a couple guys in a row. What can be said for just kind of having tough training partners that especially in the youth years, right?
I mean that makes it. We didn't have to travel a lot of different places. Clubs weren't really big back in the day. You had a couple small ones, but nothing major. But I mean, your practice partners. We were with them all week, all weekend. So they made each other. You made each other.
For sure. So you get into high school. You win 6 state championships. How did you stay hungry to kind of say, like, freshman year, sophomore year, like, I got to stay hungry. Even though I won all this, that doesn't mean necessarily anything as you get into high school.
Well, the goal always was to, high school state champ, high school state champ. So even though when you were wrestling younger, it was just stepping stones to get to there. And it was all basically trained for high school. To be the next Burrow State champ. Joel was our first in '97, and it was important to get that next one. Everyone felt like, oh, when we going to have another one?
Yeah.
So just that drive and desire to win. You didn't want to. You do all these lofty things, but it's elementary. Can they do it in high school? When it kind of means something. So
yeah, for sure.
It definitely keeps you hungry and motivated, and then. Taking second as a freshman, that's where it kicked in, man. That was probably one of the worst feelings ever. Losing as a
talk
freshman.
about everyone has that moment, like they're like they got that pit in that stomach. It's like never, ever, ever again a moment to let that happen. Was that yours?
Yeah, that was. We always I talked about it 8 inches, and that was from second place to first place the podium height. I always called it the 8 inches. You got to get the next 8 inches.
I love that.
And I put a picture up in my room of the podium with me in second place. I had to look at it every day, and that's just like you never want to feel that 8 inches again. So
did that fuel you ultimately to where you got like your junior year? You win the state championship. Talk about that run. Like, had to have been special to finally get to that mountaintop after 2 years of grinding.
Yeah, the next year I took 4th as a sophomore, and felt like a wasted season, actually. Honestly, you make the state finals, you're in the Parade of Champs, and then the next year you're sitting in the bleachers watching. It was probably
tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, probably the second worst feeling was not being in the finals.
Right.
Yeah. And then the junior year, I honestly, man, the season was up and down. I lost I think 6 times during the year.
That's not regular for you.
No.
140 and 18, I believe.
18 or 19 or something, yeah.
I mean, so, 6
Yeah.
times, that's like a third of your losses all in 1 year. That's a lot, especially coming in your junior year.
Yeah, it was up and down. I don't know if it was right weight class, wrong weight class, not the right mindset. I wrestled terrible every year around Christmas time. I don't know. I guess I just wanted the time off or whatever. But if you go back and look, a majority of my losses are that Christmas to New Year's time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, you hit Christmas and you take a couple losses. You lose, 4 times in 3 or 4 weeks. And you're like, I think I asked my coach, I said, should I just be done? Like, what's going on? Did I lose it? Did I lose it or something?
Right.
But, you get back in the room and you practice and you get a good game plan together. And then, you hit the stride into the second part of the season. And then where, the wins and losses really matter,
Yeah, man. Talk about, like, and we touched a little bit on it earlier, but, like, talk about what that second part of the season, man, the late February into March. Yeah. It's a different world, especially here. I mean, I feel like in the WPO, and we're going to talk about that a bunch, is the WPO is how ridiculously tough that is. But you have to be on a different level to get to even to the state tournament here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a grind. I mean, it's one of it's if not the toughest district in the state, and the toughest wrestling state in the country. I mean, you got a ton of tough wrestlers, and that postseason comes, and it's just you got to be. If you wrestled the postseason, 5 different times, you could get 5 different winners each time. It just depends on who's on their game,
right?
Who's at the top physically, but also, mentally, because it could be a big mental grind.
All right, junior year,
you
get your first state title,
right?
Talk about that. I mean, you're so used to winning, right? We talked about it a bunch. You won all through your youth career,
right?
You had to kind of taste that defeat a little bit before you get to the top of a mountain again, right? What was that like?
It was like like a weight lifted off your shoulder. Like, you always expected to win, but until you do it, it's like, sometimes you doubt yourself. Like, can you really do it? Yeah. But it was just, one of the best feelings ever. It's competing wise. Besides having some kids and whatnot, like. That's one of those feelings up there that, like you work from the time you were first grade, you set this goal and then to finally get it, however many years later, 10 years later, it was a lot,
Yeah, for sure. And to come back to kind of the Borough program, who are some of those guys that you leaned on that year that pushed you to that state title?
There were 4. We qualified, I think, 4 guys for states that year. And it might have been the most Boroughs ever qualified in 1 year.
Okay.
But like you said, around the same weight. So I was 119. Nick Spear was 125. Cole Spear was 130. Jared Chills was 130. Jared Childs was 140.
Yeah.
So we had, 4 guys in 5 weights.
And
all 4 of us made it to states that year. So that was kind of like the start of Borough throwing out, multiple state qualifiers every year into state place winners every year.
Love that. Okay, so you finish, you take first your junior year, going into your junior year summer.
Mm-hmm.
How did you stay hungry going into the following year? I mean, you finally get the job done. It's like you're top of the mountain, but like everyone I talked to, Ty Waters, obviously, right. I'm very close with him. Talked to him that. I one of my favorite stories, this house that we're in right now, I was like in the process of ripping it and cleaning it. Mm-hmm. Literally, it was like a week after he wins his state championship.
Right.
I see him sprinting up the hill and doing laps. Like just that mental lock that you have to get to that next one.
Yeah.
How did you get over that?
Well, we always go right into freestyle and Greco. I did that all summer, but I always said like. Not that anyone could win a state title, but like you win a state title, but what do you do next?
Right.
How many people win a state title and then
then they're game planning for you, right?
Right.
They know what you're going to bring.
Every time you go out and you wrestle, you have that target on your back. You're the state champ. You're going to get everyone's best. Every match. So my big thing is how do you follow that up? Because if I always felt that if I didn't win, then everyone would be like, see, he won, couldn't do it again. Maybe he got lucky. That my big thing was I wanted to repeat. That was I wanted to repeat. And I wanted to do it the same weight is what I really wanted to do. I said that 119 was my weight. I wanted to stay 119, and I wanted.
Was that a cut, my friend?
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I cut so much. I think it was like Christmas at Power. I told my coach, I said, we're in the midst of this team thing. You know, we had a chance. You know, we ended up making the WPO finals my senior year. I said, I'll do it for the team. But when the team's done, like, I got to go up to 25. Like, I'm more worried about making weight than working out right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So I had to bump. I decided to bump up.
So was that before, like, the weight certification days? And
you had to make half your weights. You had to weigh in at half your weights of what you went postseason.
Okay.
So we had to keep track, and, you know, what if you got snowed out? Match got canceled, didn't get rescheduled, you know. So we were counting every weigh-in, every match where you needed to be. You know, you need to make sure you had half of the weigh-ins at your postseason weight.
Right.
And this was before all the time with the internet and everything, where you could see where everyone was at. If I'd have stayed at 119, that was the year you had Jake Strayer, returning state champ, that was at 119. That was Garrett Scott from Juniata Valley's first year as a freshman that he ended up winning. Myself and Brandon Reese, we were all at 119, and then we all ended up spreading out.
So it was the same way. We had this we talked a little bit about, as we're building up to this. It was WPOs and Southwest regionals.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing as it is today, right?
Yeah.
So you won 4 of those.
We had a section.
So you won 4 of those.
Yeah.
Was that like the same area, like the Bedford area, like the
District 5 and District 6?
Yeah. That's that little group of area, man. I tell people, I'm like, that Southwest Regional for Double A is no joke.
It's a big region. Look at it on the map here. When you're driving to Hershey, you know, Mount Union's in Double A. Yeah. They're in the Southwest region. That's pretty much halfway to Hershey.
Like, you know, 2.5 hours almost,
it's a massive region. You go all the way down to the bottom of the state. And, you know, Bedford, Chestnut Ridge, you know, North Star, Westmont Hilltop.
A lot of farm boys.
Yes, a lot of tough people. You know, I mean that Johnstown region. You know, you see all the guys that go to UPJ and all that. You know, those guys all are out that way.
Yeah, for sure. So, talk about winning your second one. How hard was it? I mean, like, what was it like to win that?
I mean, it's, you know, that was, you know, winning the second one. I don't know what was better, the first or the second.
Right.
But, you know, I had a good run through WPOs, you know, into regions, and at regions, I was going for my 4th regional title, and I ended up meeting Tom Brantley from Everett in the finals, and he's going for his 3rd regional title. So, like, it was this big marquee matchup, you know, and I knew, you know, and never doubted myself in that. You know, I knew I would win that match, but I mean, it was still, you know, this guy's, you know, going for his 3rd regional title, been to states, you know, 3 years.
Right. So not to like cut you off, but like you talk about, like, you knew who this guy was, blah blah blah. You kind of grew up in the age before. We talked about it when we were eating dinner. You kind of grew up in the age before the internet, before what was going on. It was, you know, whipyourwrestling.net and Mr. Blazers, right? And it's like, you guys had rankings. You were like, oh my God, we got rankings.
And a forum. And you never knew who was talking, who was saying what, you know.
So is that where you found this guy, or you knew who he was?
No, I mean, just from being out that way, you know. I wrestled Sal Lascari from North Star. I wrestled him regional finals my junior year, you know, and we were friends.
So that's how it was, right? You kind of bullshitted with each other.
And he was out that way. I ended up wrestling him in the regional semifinals. He had 1 loss in the year. It was to Bramley the weekend before. Bramley was undefeated. I think I came in with 2 or 3 losses. Right. So, you know, we had, but we've wrestled each other, you know, from the time we were little, me and Sal.
Yeah.
Never got to wrestle Tom, but I got to wrestle him there, you know. But
very cool.
I just had confidence in the abilities in my feet. And I was so good neutral, and I knew if I got the first takedown, I was going to win the match.
What was that stat? Like 80% of the time you get the first takedown.
I'd say mine was even higher than that.
Yeah. I mean,
if I took you down right off the bat,
that was it.
I probably won the match.
Love that.
Yeah. So I went out. I got that first takedown. I knew. I just, you know, that confidence just goes through the roof, and, you know, you get that first points and it's over, you know.
For sure. So you go out, you win 2 state championships. You're a decorated junior junior wrestler. Why UPJ?
The original plan was to go to Pitt. Big fan of Sonny Abe. Came in, recruited me, wanted to go wrestle for him.
Were you part of the Angry Fish crew?
I was not.
Okay.
Bones Wrestling.
Steve
Ansani, yes.
Okay.
That's where I started. So we competed with Bones, or Bones competed with Angry Fish.
Okay.
Yeah. But the original plan was, you know, Sonny came in.
Yeah.
I liked Sonny a lot, but from the time I said I was going to go to Pitt till the time it was signing time, he moved on. And then it was kind of like, is this, do I want to go there or whatnot? So I knew I wanted to stay close. I couldn't really go away. It wasn't my thing. Had to stay close.
I got you.
So, kicked the idea around and decided, I thought, UPJ would be best for me.
Right. So you end up at UPJ.
Yeah.
Legendary coach Pat Makara.
Mm-hmm.
Give me your favorite Pat Makara story.
Oh, geez. I don't know if there, there's so many,
I'm hitting you off the wall on this one. I'm sorry.
That's, it's just because, being coached by Coach Como, you just hear so many stories from him, and then getting in that room and then like seeing how he works the room. You picture Coach Como in the room, how he coaches, and then, this was the guy that taught him,
Right.
So it was just, it was different, the college level, college coaching, pulling guys from, you really don't know, just all working out, and, how he ran his practice, and, hearing that voice from wherever it was, he's always watching.
It's so funny, man, because so now it's new age, right? Like
right.
I have all these guys that I follow in college. Wesley Ridge had Ty McGeary.
Right.
They always, the last 3 or 4 years, they've started UPJ West Lib, and it's either been there or whatever, but it's always on stream. So I'll pull it up, and he's losing it, right? He's yelling, and my wife's like, "Whose voice is that?" I'm like, "That's Coach Makara. He's kind of known for that. You know, his voice is a little scratchy."
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely he's. But every single person I've had on that talked to him, they just say he's just kind of like an aura figure, just like a legendary figure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you hear the stories. It's kind of like walking in. You're what are you getting into? You don't really know until you experience it for yourself.
So talk about your time at UPJ. Obviously not as successful as your high school career and your youth career. You kind of got banged up with injuries, but talk about that.
Yeah, I think the injury bug, stayed away from me throughout elementary and junior high and high school, and kind of caught up with me there. I went there the first year. They had a 125 starter. Plan was to, red shirt, and get at it the second year. But, even through the first year, ran into some health issues with some staph infections and whatnot, and really didn't have a lot that season. And then coming into the redshirt freshman year, planning on, starting at 133, and then I think it was the week before the season started, I ended up tearing my bicep off my shoulder. And
how did that happen?
Just practicing, wear and tear. When the doctor looked at it, he goes, "I'm surprised it took you this long to be in here." I guess it was just wear and tear over the years.
So it wasn't like a specific incident?
No, it just kind of, like you said, wear and tear, and it was its time, and it went, and it was about an 18-month recovery. You're 2 years already into to college, another, year and a half. And
21, 22, 23
Are you really going
to
come and be ready to go the back half of the season when everyone's been wrestling all summer and just starting? And, from there, made the decision that, it was time to hang them up. And, I left UPJ and transferred down to the main campus and just concentrated on school.
How hard was that?
You look back and you think, with an injury, there wasn't any it wasn't like a debate where you're getting older and it's the younger guys are starting to catch up and beat you. It was just like you just couldn't do it anymore.
Just done.
Even now to roll around, like I can't. The shoulder just doesn't.
Right.
Can't. Even as much as you wanted to, you can't. And I think that's why I got into coaching. I had some brothers on the team. Burrow was in the middle of their run, the beginning half of their run, and that kind of that competitiveness just kind of went into coaching, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of helping those guys.
My man, you're doing a professional segue for me. I love that. So let's move right into your coaching side of things, right?
Yeah.
You talk about your brothers. How fun was it to watch your brothers just kind of go out there and dominate?
It was very tough. When you wrestle, you're in control of things.
It was tough.
But watching your brothers, I got more nervous for them, because you want the best for them, and you're trying to tell them, and they're looking at you going, "Dude, leave me alone. Let me go. I can rest. Let me go." So you got more nervous watching them and whatnot. But it was fun to watch them all compete and, placing at states, and their teams were winning WIPIO titles. And then, the two younger ones ended up being on the state championship team in 08, I think it was.
Yeah.
And, I was a big part of, Como and Isaac, Greeley, putting the lineups together and coaching and just game planning, and it was an awesome run. I
see goosebumps on your arms.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun, huh?
It was, it was a lot of fun, and even a couple years before they won, they took fourth a year, they took third a year. I think 05 they lost the first match at team states, and then they rattled off 6 in a row. Ended up beating a Mount Pleasant team that beat them in the Whitfield finals, and I think it was Quincy semis. They're wrestling Brandywine Heights, and they're down 10 points, I think, and with 3 matches left. And I think Brandywine had two guys ranked in the top 8 in the state.
Yeah.
And we had to win all the matches, and Josh Shields, Gino Lanzino, and my brother Jason, they put the hammer down. I think Josh got a pin, Gino went out and got a hard fought win, and then my brother, big head and arm guy. Ask Rob Walko about the head and arm. You were talking about having him on. Rob and my brother might have had a headlock in there for him at one point. I'm not sure. That. I think so, but he caught this. He was ranked like 6th or 7th in the state in a head and arm, and he tossed into his back and pinned him, and Burrow ended up winning that match to get in for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah.
So a lot of good times. With
man.
That Burrow team, man.
We've talked about him a bunch, but so they continue to just move forward. I've had Josh Shields on, and he's one of my favorite people. Every time I have him on, either I had him on in long form, but then I've had him on every year for the coaches preview. How proud are you that he's leading the Burrow program? I feel like he is Burrow in a person, right?
That's I have 2 young kids now. I've just had a son, just turned 1, and we always joke about, you're going to get back into coaching or what? And I said, no, man, I don't want no parts of it. As long as someone like a Josh Shields is coaching the program, it's in good hands, man. I mean, he grew up in that program, him and his 2 brothers, went to Mercyhurst with a good program there, very successful, national champ, runner-up, I think a 4th place. And he comes back and he's coaching. Well, who else would you want?
It's kind of hard to argue, my friend.
And then I know Shane Belko a little bit, and he lives in Burl with his son. Excuse me, and I said, Shane, if Josh ever decides to hang it up, you're my vote. You got to do it. And he's like, well, I'll do it if you come help me. And I'm like, why don't you just do it? I want to be the dad if my kids ever do wrestle or whatever sport they are. I want to be the dad on the top of the bleachers, just watching. Let the coach coach. And I can be a parent.
Tell you what, we're going to talk about that for sure. But no doubt. I love that. So that brings me to my next point. You went through coaching. You had a stopover at where is it? New Ken? New Ken for a minute. What was that like?
Try to get that program up and going.
Yeah, that's tough.
With a full-time job and then trying to recruit college kids and stuff. It's tough. It's a lot. It's definitely not something that you can do part-time.
Yeah.
Then we had my one brother was in an accident at the time, and he was in the hospital for a while, so it just was probably at the wrong time. Handed that over to a friend through the Mat Factory, Francis, to try to keep that going. But being a small school, they don't have any on-campus housing and whatnot, so it's tough to get a program going when you at least don't have a place for the guys to stay.
Right, yeah, where are you going to lay your head at night, right?
Right, so that was tough. It probably wasn't the best place to have a team, but we always said, I remember joking with Coach Como and them, and if Penn State New Ken ever had a team, we got to try. Someone's got to try to get it up and running, because the more programs are, there's just the more opportunities. So
yeah, for sure. What was it? David Taylor was at St. Vincent's camp with Nania and those guys, and he was just like, and even he knows the depth in the Whitfield is just is ridiculous. All right. Moving on to kind of the next segment of our show, and I'm excited to talk about this, my friend.
Right.
You're a ref. Yeah. How the hell did that happen?
I know, it's kind of surprising, isn't it?
Right.
With the coaching, I coached a long time. Helped out Isaac and Como into the next regime of coaching, into the next one, and it's just it got to be a lot. You're trying to start a family, you get married. It's just they're looking at you like you're gone Monday through Saturday. Practices are 5 o'clock, and we don't get done until 7, 8 o'clock. It's just a lot. And you're drenched in your job, and it's just not a lot of time for anything else outside of that. And in Burl's program, we don't have a summer break. It's, you get a couple weeks, and then we're in a freestyle or we're in summer workouts. And it just felt like my brothers were through, and just felt like it was time to take a step back and take some time to myself. Yeah. So that was maybe a year or two, and then the bug hit again. The itch of of like I missed the guys.
Just being on the rubber, right?
Yeah, you miss, talking to someone like a Josh, or, you were talking about Vince, or, like a Matt Levy over at Franklin. You miss seeing those guys that you grew up with that you were seeing every week and whatnot. So I don't know. I looked and I'm like, oh, reffing. Like, let's just see what happens,
Right.
And I never really even thought about reffing high school, to be honest. It was just to start reffing little kids and see what happens.
So that's where you got your start. You just kind of started on like the base level.
Yeah, there was an online test. You took it. You sign up for a chapter, and you go to the meeting, and you kind of. I ended up buddying up with Greg James and Steve Davido. They're still reffing now and doing a great job. And
what was it like? I'm sorry, I can't contain my excitement.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was it like reffing youth matches? Because
oh my God, I mean, I think every parent, every coach, anyone involved with youth wrestling should have to ref Keystone event.
Yeah.
Because the amount of garbage and trash that gets said to you from parents that think they know what they are doing, to parents that have no idea, to some coaches that have no idea what they're doing.
With you being a ref, we talked about kind of how you got your start, and you've had the bug since you've been a little kid. You're now like, I go to these matches, man. I go to these tournaments. You're one of the mainstay guys on the Whippio crew. I feel like it's been the same guys since I've been. Some of the same guys since I've been in high school. Some of the same guys since my dad's been in high school. When my dad wrestled back in the day for Freedom. What's it like to be kind of part of that little brotherhood of refs in the Whippio?
It's different. I mean, we definitely all do stick together, because let's face it, when you go to a tournament and you walk into the tournament, no one's like, oh man, the refs are here, give them a round of applause. I mean, you're probably already getting booed and yelled at right from the start. So I mean, we gotta have each other's backs and stuff like that. And like I said earlier, man, we're there because we want to provide for the sport, giving back to the sport. We want to see, I don't want like the right guy win. We don't want to see a match come down to a blown call or something. At least I don't.
Right.
You want to make sure the right person wins.
So talk about that a little bit more. Like you guys are part of not just not you necessarily. I know you competed in it, but like the Dapper Dan or the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic, whatever they call it, the Power Raid.
Right.
The Whippio Finals are obviously, in my opinion, is one of my most favorite events. But the prestige and the level of wrestling in this area is so great. Mm-hmm. Is that like a chip on your shoulder that you are a ref in the Whippio, or it's like, hey, I wrestled in this. This is kind of like where I belong.
I think being that I wrestled here and I was successful, it does give me a little bit more than maybe somebody else that's coming in. If make a close call or something, can at least lean on my background.
Right, a little bit.
You wrestled forever. A lot of wrestling, which isn't like a lot of other sports, it's a lot of feel.
Right.
Does that feel like control or not? Or and again, you just you want to make the right call. You don't want to dictate the outcome of a match. Every time I walk out, I'm like, you're talking about doing Whippio finals. Heck, this year I reffed Sean Taylor and Dylan Evans regional final match. And,
yes.
We pull the weights and I pull 160, and all I'm thinking is, don't screw this up. Don't screw this up.
All right. Now you lead into it. We got to talk about, what do you think? Like, what do you make of that call in the finals and that? That's crazy.
I personally actually know the ref. I ref with him at Team States. He's a great guy.
Okay.
I just think, some interpretations of some rules could have, I think it was a gray area. Would I made that call? Probably not. I think I take it. Mm-hmm. I take it and let the guys decide that match, especially if, you're going to call stalling on the bottom guy. You're an ultimate tiebreaker. I mean, if he stalls, he loses. So let him stall.
Right.
Stalemate it, start him over. That's my thing. I'm not gonna beat the guy up too much, because, like I said, the last thing that guy wanted to do is and he's trying to follow the rules, and I think
the whole stadium come down and boo him, right?
I think when you're reffing, sometimes you forget of, when you hit someone with stalling, was that the second stall? Oh crap, I'm an ultimate tiebreaker. I just gave the winning point. Maybe he lost track of it. Maybe that's the call he made. I don't know. I didn't talk to him about it, but I think growing up, I think someone always said, "Don't put it in the ref's hands."
Absolutely.
You know, but
yeah, no doubt. I've had a conversation with Shawnee about it already, no doubt. But yeah, that's an interesting perspective. It's just, it's tough to see because, then maybe that's the next thing, we want to talk about. But there's definitely a shortage in refs, across every sport.
You go to all these wrestling events, right?
Yes.
Would you want to ref?
No.
Right, you see how people whacked.
That's it. My wife tells me that. She's like, why don't you just ref? Like, hey, this guy's coming over, why don't you talk to him? I'm like, no desire. No offense to you.
Yeah, we're always trying to get, younger guys or just get guys in general that want to do it, because like it is a shortage and it's not the easiest thing to ref. It's a lot of feel.
Yeah.
You gotta. I don't know anyone that refs that didn't wrestle. That's one thing.
Yeah.
You could probably ump baseball or whatever, but to ref wrestling and not done it, it's probably impossible.
Yeah. Kind of have to have that feel, right? To kind of know the flow of the match, what they're, what guys are.
A lot of anticipation of where they're going to go next.
Yeah.
And getting in the position, of, knowing where they're going to go to be in that right position to make the right call.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. So the next thing I want to talk about is recently the NCAA just made a big change and they went from 2-point takedowns to 3-point takedowns.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on that as a referee.
As a ref, I don't think it really makes any difference.
Okay.
Whatever the points are.
What are you holding up? 3, this 3, this.
3 like this.
This 3. Okay.
It's like the back point 3. That's what I'm doing.
That's what you're doing.
I wouldn't be opposed to doing the old freestyle 3, but I don't think we're allowed to do it like that. My hand don't work like that, so we're going to do the
I see some of those
the freestyle kind of.
Well, the Sun Devil guys do that, or the force up or whatever. But so okay, so you don't think it really matters that big of a difference?
Not refereeing, no.
Okay, but I think it's going to make a difference for wrestling.
It's going to impact. It's going to impact the matches for sure. I mean, I love it because I was a guy I couldn't turn anybody. So to get all these back points is great, but like that, I really wasn't a big.
A couple more texts under your belt if you would have had 3 points.
I'm not. I wasn't a big pinner and turner or whatnot. Some tilts here and there, but I was a big takedown guy.
Yes.
I always said my favorite move on top was the optional start. Back in my day, we didn't have the option just to put them back on their feet. We had to actually do the optional start.
I love that.
So I said that was my favorite move on top. But I like it. I think they're trying to get to, more action. A lot of matches, they want to get that riding time to get that extra point to win a match that way. Well, now I think they're trying to create a little more incentive to, instead of riding a guy for an extra point, I can let him up and take him down a couple times. You get 3 takedowns, it's 9 to 2.
Yeah.
Then ride him out instead of a 6 to 2. You let him up and you get taken down at 6-5 or whatever. Trying to create that gap to create more offense.
I like that. Yeah.
So
I didn't think of that way. Just trying to create more offense.
I mean, why take someone down and let him up a couple times when at the end of the day it's 6 to 3?
That's what. Yeah. Like I've always had that conversation. Yeah. You do 3 takedowns and 3 lets up,
and then the other guy goes down. He gets out and takes you down.
Even match, right?
An even match.
And you
were the aggressor.
Right.
So what's the point? Now, I mean, I like it. Now you do 3 takedowns. You're looking at 9 to 3. Even he gets out, it's 9 to 4. He takes you down, it's still 9-7. You get out, you still got that 10-7. You got a 3-point gap.
Makes sense.
I think they're trying to promote being aggressive and scoring points.
I'm all for it. In my opinion, I love that. All right, next thing I need to talk to you about is excellence. So you have 2 young kids. We've talked about it a few times. Are you going to push them to wrestle? And I find this interesting, right? Like, what's the best way to go about trying to get your son and or daughter to wrestle?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know what the best way is.
I don't either.
This is my first time through it.
Me too.
I always said if I had a boy, I'd want to talk to somebody, that had a kid that was successful. Like, I know Mr. Nolf. If I ever run into him, like, hey, what did you do with Jason?
Yes.
Or Dan Megaludis. How did you bring your kid up? And kind of get their perspective. Because it's a fine line of, pushing your kid in any sport and then crossing the line. So, I mean, you can't make a kid do anything. I'm around the sport. Will they be around the sport? Yes. Will they try it? I'm sure they'll want to try it. What happens after that? I look at Coach Como. He's got 3 boys.
Yep.
Some of them wrestle. Some of them don't. Some of them are, play track and basketball, and others, still wrestle. So, I mean, it's, they'll be exposed to the sport. I love that girls wrestling is taking off. I mean,
Incredible.
it's a great avenue for girls and women and
Yes.
scholarship opportunities and getting more people wrestling. So they'll be around it, but you know, they'll get a year or two, and then it'll be their decision.
Right.
But, you know, like my parents did, is, you know, you had to do something. You know, you weren't going to sit around the house and play video games.
For sure.
So if it's not wrestling, it'll be baseball or soccer or softball, or they'll find something.
You're getting out of the house, right?
You know, yeah, or maybe it'll be something with school or band or whatever. But you just want to see them involved in something and interacting with other people.
Love that. All right, brother. Before we get to the rapid fire questions, my last question I have for you, and I ask everyone this, so I'm sure you're prepared for it. Favorite near fall or pin you've ever been a part of?
You mean wrestling? My
Yes.
favorite move?
Well, no. Like, you've like pinned a dude near fall, or you were coaching a match and a dude pinned someone to. Like a lot of times, I ask this question, and it's not necessarily like even you pinning someone, or it's like someone that no one expects pinned a dude to win a duel or something like that.
Well, we were talking about earlier when Burl took third at Team States at 05, I think. You know, we had the Josh, Gino, my brother Jason. You know, all had to win, and my brother was the last match, and him pinning that kid, and they won the match. And I mean, everyone was just going nuts. And then 08, Bobby Spear was our last match against Bermudian Springs in the state finals.
Yes.
And you know, if we lost that match, we lost the duel, and I think Bobby's shoulder popped out in the middle of the match too in the first period. So he was struggling with that, you know.
Wait, they popped it back in, or they just wrestled with it?
Isaac popped it back in. He took an injury time, you know, and he ended up, you know. We knew Bobby should win that match, but with his shoulder popping out and all that, but he ended up pinning that kid. I don't know if it was a late first period or early second period, but pinning him to win the state title. Team title was just
with a blown out shoulder.
With a popped out shoulder, you know, was just, you know, those two really stand out because you know, one was my brother, and it was, you know, the highest Burl ever placed was third. You know, that at the time that was the standard. You know, 05 third place, that was awesome. Yeah. You know, especially beating the team Mount Pleasant for third and fourth that had our number back then at the beginning of the run. I don't know if a lot of people know that.
What?
Yeah.
Before we move on to you've been one of my favorite interviews because you're kind of a historian, man. You know a lot of guys, a lot of people, a lot of like times. What was it like? And a lot of people don't know that. You know, Mount Pleasant. Certainly, you know they have Pitzers, and they're one of a good D2 team. But like back in the day, I knew they were nails, right?
Yeah, we went back and forth. Like I said, my senior year, we lost to them in a section match for the section title. We ended up wrestling in the Whippeal finals. My senior year, we lose 32-31. You know, I think half their team were state medalists. Half our team ended up being state medalists. And then myself and Jared Shields, we graduate. Mount Pleasant had a little off year. We wrestled Southside Beaver in the finals the following year, and we beat them for Burl's first Whippeal title since '97, I think it was. And then the following 2 years, Mount Pleasant again in the finals, and we lost back-to-back years in the finals to them. And then that's the year after that. You know, Mount Pleasant, all those guys graduated. They kind of went down, and then
it's always someone.
I think it was the Shady Side era. Then we moved into the Shady Side era with we can get into the Dane Johnsons and the Frank Martelottis and the Jeff Alexander.
Oh my goodness, that's
the Dave Cunningham era. Where I think that team had 8 state place winners,
monsters,
and we beat them somehow.
Monsters.
But that could be another episode because that Burl Shady Side rival, you know, we could talk days on that.
And, you know, I've talked to Smitty about that.
Yeah,
he was part of
he's
the other
very
side.
good on the talk about.
Right? Yes, he was part on the other side, and it's like I find it. That's why I have so much respect for Burl. Before we move on, and like you know, Burl people, you guys know I love you, but it's like it's always a new like little regime. Like for years, it was like you said, Mount Pleasant, and then it was.
Moved into Shady Side Academy.
Shady Side Academy, and then South Fayette was in there for years.
There was a dairy run for a couple of years with the Troy Dolan area.
Freedom was in there. Like you guys always have someone that's pushing you guys. Yeah. That's always like, oh, this is the next team, but they're not going to beat Burl. And it
was eventually always going to come to an end. I mean, it's just how long can you hold it off? You know, how long can you keep doing it? And you know what? Even though that win streak, came to an end, I mean, they've still been in the finals every year since 2003. I mean, that of itself is just, you talk to somebody, and I don't think they quite understand it. And then I put it in terms of football. Hey, what if your high school football team played at Heinz Field every year since 2003. Like
Yes.
that's how I kind of relay it to somebody else. And you think, I mean, we're on what is it, 2023? We just finished the 2023 season.
Yeah,
that's
man.
20 straight years. Like,
I put out a tweet after Burrow lost. What was it, 2 or 3 years or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I said what Burrow has done over the past 17 years will never be repeated, never ever again. Like it's unbelievable, just the level of consistency
Yeah.
you guys produce year in and year out. And you've talked about guys like yourself, Como,
mm-hmm.
Mr. Isaac Greenlee, who I'm
Yeah.
so excited to have on one day.
Mm-hmm.
Shields. Just give me your final wrapping thoughts on Burrow and just what's it like to just be a part of that community.
I mean, it's a small community. We're a small double-A school, but we've been lucky that our guys that have been successful and went off to college have been successful.
Yeah.
Have decided to stay at Burrow and make that home and start their family there. And they love the sport of wrestling. And before Josh, you had like a Gino Lanzino and a Zach Pisano helping, and then Josh comes into the mix because he's back after Mercyhurst, and then the coach decides, hey, I'm done, and hands it over to Josh, and now
Seamless
Josh.
transition.
I mean, look at the coaching staff that Burrow has. I mean, he still has Como and Isaac, and Steve Ansani came over from Valley, and I mean they have it's a joke. I mean they have 10 coaches.
Yeah.
But you have the next head coach. If Josh decides to be done,
Yep.
you have the next head coach there
Yep.
that's going to run the same program. And I think that's the biggest thing is we've done the same consistent thing. The practice Josh is running is the same practice that me and Josh, because Josh is my workout partner
Right.
in 2003. The same practice that we did in 2003, he's still doing now. Obviously with the tweaks and the updates and with that, but I mean it's the same thing. And
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
right, it doesn't look like the Bro program's broke. I mean
No,
it's still
fair.
chugging along, but also the elementary coaches are buying in and they're listening. There's that communication of what the high school's teaching. We're making sure the junior high's teaching, and we're making sure that the elementary's teaching. And when you get on that run and you made the finals a couple times, then it's like the cool thing to do.
Right.
Now everyone wants to wrestle.
The kids, yeah.
I think the year we
exactly.
won a state title, I think there were 14 weight classes. I think we had 17 guys.
Yeah.
Bermudian Springs was so big they ran out of medals. So like that's just in comparison,
Yes.
And now we consistently are pouring out 20 some people, and and that's. You keep a program like that. You got little kids that are watching. You got the high school kids coming down to the little elementary
Yes.
practice and showing state medals and individuals and team stuff, and they want to stick around and be a part of that.
I love that.
Kind of become a little cult,
Yeah, dude. I'm serious. Like, it's like, so I talk to people. I'm like, yeah, I'm friends with this, this Mark Kazanowicz guy. He's from Burrow. Like, oh, Burrow, good wrestling out there. I'm
Yeah.
like, good wrestling out
And
there.
as the longer it went along, every senior group didn't want to be the team that lost.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's how they stayed hungry, and it was always I want to be the next team that wins freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. So it just continued to pump to turn out like that.
Yeah, no doubt. And shout out Quaker Valley, shout out to Burgettstown, the Bigelotti brothers. You guys were kind of the ones who stopped them the last 2 years. But man, I have a lot of respect for Burrow, Burgettstown, Quaker Valley, you guys, especially the Bigelotti brothers. Man, we've talked a lot about you guys too. Not even on camera, but off camera. Joey and Louie, good dudes for sure.
Yeah, definitely good friends of mine. We go way back. Me and Louie wrestled, together way back in the day.
Yeah.
We were doing the trading Burrow and Burgettstown shirts and wearing the different gear back in the day and whatnot. And it's transpired, through the years with Joey and Josh and Gino and stuff like that.
For sure. I love that. All right, on to the rapid fire segment of the show. We've kind of talked about a few of these, but let's just run through them and give me your first thought, name, answer, anything that comes to my mind. Give me a sentence, and we'll move on to the next one.
All right, sounds good.
All right. First memory of wrestling.
I'd probably be that Plum first year tournament we talked about earlier, and then winning that first JO state title. I think we talked earlier. I was the first weight.
Yeah.
They did all third place matches, then they did the finals, and I pinned my kids so quick they tried giving me the third place medal. I really remember that, and I'm like, no, I won. I took first.
Sure.
Yeah, they tried giving me third my first JO title, so I definitely remember that.
That's good stuff. All right, worst day in the sport.
Losing a state title.
For sure. Greatest day in the sport.
Winning a state title. Winning both state titles.
Okay. Toughest opponent ever.
Toughest opponent, high school wise, I'd probably have to say, Jim Collins, Northern Lebanon, 2001. He's who beat me in the quarterfinal round. He ended up winning state title that year. That was the year I took fourth. He was just a stud. He wrestled, here's an old name for you, Jeff Breeze from McGuffey.
Yes.
The year Jeff Breeze won a title, this kid was in AAA. That's who he beat in the finals. Was Jim Collins, stud.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe this goes together, but do you have an arch nemesis or a rival in sport?
Not so much in high school. I never really wrestled the same kids too many times. But in elementary, it was Jeff Raffini. He started out at Burrell and moved to Kiski. We were around the same weight,
AK Valley, huh?
We were always, back and forth. Actually, we weren't back and forth. He always beat me. He was one kid that always, he always beat me from the time, we were 10 till like junior high. And then we started, trading back and forth. We did wrestle, I think, twice in high school, and I think we were 1-1 in high school. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Toughest practice partner.
From my high school, Jared Shields. The dude was funky before funky was a thing. You see everyone now is funky.
Yes.
I could remember shooting in on him, and the dude would not let me take him down. It would just be funk after funk after funk. He taught me how to scramble.
Right.
That dude was scrambling before scrambling was a big thing.
That's cool. And that's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother day, like that whole, when that whole started. And very cool. All right. Biggest influence in the sport.
I didn't really follow like college wrestling or Olympic wrestling when I was growing up. It was always, the name Joel DeLaurier because he was the Burrow. He was a 5-time JO champ, and it was like, well, can you get, my dad always said, well, can you win another one? Can you win more than him? He was our first high school state champ. But, someone in the sport, I look up to Coach Comer like a brother, like an older brother. He, got me when I was in 9th grade and, took me to, win 2 state titles and really took me from that elementary wrestler to, a high school going into college wrestler.
Okay. Favorite cheat meal or meal to eat?
I like to drink Coke. It was like my thing. I didn't need to eat. It was like I needed to drink something. And it was...
So it was a Coke?
It was Coke. Yeah.
Not like...
I needed to drink pop. Like, my thing is I'm burning 10,000 calories a day.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't matter what I'm eating, I'm burning it off.
Right.
If I'm going to drink...
You don't have something that you love to eat more than...
I needed to drink.
See, like, obviously I have a few things that I love to eat.
Yeah.
No doubt. See, you're like, I've talked to, like, my brother's era is they're Mountain Dew kids, right? That's the era. So Coke was your thing?
I just, Coke or Pepsi, I just, like, if I was going to, drink a 12 ounces of water, I'd rather I'm drinking 12 ounces of pop.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I could go days without eating. I needed to drink something that, like...
Sweet, little caffeine.
Yeah.
Little something. That's cool. That's so different. I've never heard that before. Okay. Favorite non-wrestling sport?
I was big into hockey for a while. Love the Penguins. Big Penguin fan. Had season tickets for a while.
Okay.
So, but now, you call racing a sport?
Sure.
I've been following F1 the last couple of years.
What's that about? Like,
Formula
that's
1.
Pretty intense. Like, you gotta kind of be an athlete to be in that car all day, right?
I guess. Yeah. I mean, they're all in shape and whatnot. But I've just been following that. It's, as a dad now, you don't got a lot of free time. So, like, Saturday and Sunday morning they race. So it's something that I can get up and,
interesting.
Get the kids fed and just hanging out. And it's on at like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. Just throw it on and watch and. Kind of just been following. They had a Netflix series, Drive to Survive, about it. Watch that. Just kind of, it's kind of like my Saturday, Sunday thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
On Saturday, Sunday morning, there is nothing on, so that might be my...
Even during football, they're not on that early. So it's like, I'll record them if I'm going to miss it, and I can go back and watch it. Just can't go on ESPN and see.
So do you have like a favorite driver or something?
George Russell, probably.
Look at you, yes,
Mercedes guy.
Nice.
But yeah, it's just interesting. It's something different. Okay. I like things that I was never involved in, like hockey. Can't skate to save my life, fall flat on my face, but it's interesting, Okay. That's kind of like I hope my son or daughter, as they play golf or something that I know nothing about, so you can't even get involved,
I hope my son plays golf, but I definitely know a lot about it. But so tough, for sure. All right, my man. Okay, this is the last one I have for you, and we kind of tabled it, but no, we didn't table it. What is your favorite match you've ever reffed?
My favorite match I've ever reffed. I'd say probably my first regional, AAA regional match between Finn Solomon and Ty Waters.
No shit.
That's probably my that match right there. I mean, that was a crazy match. Guys, go back and watch it. I mean,
Yes.
ultimate tiebreaker, back and forth. I mean, I don't think they went out of bounds in the first period. It was straight action pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
Both of them were going at it. I thought I called a pretty good match. But after that match, I had a lot of people, hey, that was, it was a great match and you reffed it pretty good.
Yep.
After that match, I was like, you know what? Okay, I can ref high school matches. I can ref high level because the week later that was a state final match.
Yep.
And that kind of gave me some confidence of, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing. I'm kind of good at it. Then going back to, I pull another regional final match that ends up being the state final match the week before or the week after.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. And what's funny is the guy that won the regional match that I ref lost in the state finals both times. Finn beat Ty, and then Ty ended up winning that match at states, and then same with Sean Taylor and Dylan.
Yeah,
reversed.
Reverse way the other way.
Yeah.
Both West State boys.
I know. Right?
I was wondering why I have such a connection with you, but thanks, man. You know what? I don't think I have anything else for you. Do you have anyone or anything or any person you want to shout out before I leave you go?
Just thanks for having me on. I mean, I watch all the episodes. It's great what you guys are doing for the sport. It's awesome. I love it. Keep it up. It's what you and Kaz are doing. It's bringing more people into the sport. You're kind of different angle with this one with a little elementary, high school, the reffing side. I think it's hopefully it's interesting for people to get it to hear the other side of it sometimes. But thanks for having me on. Great to be a part of this, and hopefully we can do it again some other time.
Absolutely, and that's kind of a little sneak preview. Maybe I'll have something next year, maybe more than just one ref here, maybe a couple refs, and have a little conversation about how tough it is to be one of those guys. But Joe, thank you so much for hanging out with me, man. I really appreciate you just